The Rotary Club of Charleston is steeped in a rich heritage and tradition that started a century ago. On October 20th, 1915, the club held its first meeting in a tea room inside the former Canal Hotel. The initial 26 charter members, all of them prominent business leaders, immediately bonded, forming friendships and fostering the ideals of service. Rotary took hold in the Valley. In the first 25 years, the club grew from 26 to 217 members. Club number 191, the Rotary Club of Charleston, was West Virginia's third Rotary Club, following Wheeling and Huntington. Rotary then and now brought business leaders together who otherwise might not have crossed paths. Founding President W.E. Jones said, "It was not until we called each other by nicknames in friendship, such as Bill, Ernie, and Andy, that we became thoroughly good fellows to each other."
I've gotten to know a number of people in our community a lot better and at a lot different level than I would have if I had not been a member of Rotary. These were contemporaries of my parents that I used to see at events, and they were Mr. This and Mr. That. And it was one of the first venues where I said, "I'm not Mr. anymore. I'm Bob or Ted or Frank." And so it was really a transition as sort of becoming a grown-up, for lack of a better term. So there was a generational. So I got to know some individuals at a level that were older and a lot wiser and had been down the road.
Even during the formative years, the club was successful in its endeavors to embody the motto of service before self. In 1918, the Rotary raised $12,000 to bring the Boy Scouts of America to Charleston. Throughout the years, several members of the club have served as president of the Boy Scout Council. Service before self was aptly applied in the first 25 years as members who were physicians, surgeons, and specialists offered free services such as orthopedics and eye care to underprivileged boys, girls, and adults.
Service above self means that we do provide service to the community and to the world. One of the great projects that Rotary International has been involved in is eradicating polio, and we have been very successful about that. With that, so that there are only very few areas of the world now that still have polio.
In 1922, the club gave $100,000 to the Charleston Public Library, now known as the Kanawha County Public Library, to purchase the Capitol Annex, which became the library's first permanent home. To put that donation in context, Rotary's contribution was nearly half of the campaign goal. During the early 20s, the Charleston Club teamed up with the Huntington Club on a project. 105 members of the clubs rode a special train to a rural North Carolina mountain district to present a Presbyterian school with a $3,000 contribution. In this same time period, the Rotary furnished milk and oranges to undernourished children at Fruth Public School, which was located on the west side. Rotarian service to the community was evident during the Great Depression of the 1930s. West Virginia was devastated by the Depression, as no sector of the economy was spared. Victory gardens were planted to help feed those in need, and Rotarians did their part. The Charleston Club caused vacant lots to be plowed and seeded for vegetables. The unemployed, who sometimes only received food for their efforts, tended the gardens. In 1958, the club sponsored a boy for 1 year at the Kappa Sigma Phi home for boys and girls in Clarksburg. That same year, a local high school girl was chosen as the club's delegate to the Rotary International Youth Assembly in New Brunswick, Canada. In 1965, E.H. Van Hoos, District Rotary Governor, wrote, "Dedication to any good cause can bring forth fruit for all humankind. Thus, the dedication of all Rotarians to the ideal of service before self can make a vast difference in a troubled world."
Rotarians went to Philippines, where was a hotbed for polio. That was a time when polio was rampant throughout the world. they ended up in just a few years curing or stamping out polio in the Philippines. And then these Rotarians who are visionaries said, well, why not the world? My golly, do you take on the world after doing little Philippines? And they did. And when you believe in something and want to keep going with it like Rotary does, they don't start something and give up on it. That's important, and that's another reason why I like Rotary.
Community service and creating friendships aren't the only benefits experienced by Rotarians. First-class programs, ranging from the performing arts to serious discussion of the issues of the day, enrich each member. Over the years, there have been many celebrated and impressive speakers. In 1935, Admiral Richard E. Byrd, the first man to successfully fly over the South Pole, presented a film strip of his expedition to the Rotary Club of Charleston. Professional golfer Sam Snead, who won a record 82 PGA tournaments, including 7 majors, spoke to the club in 1966. In 1981, Gerald R. Ford, the 38th President of the United States, spoke to the club. The club's program committee works diligently to line up thought-provoking business and political leaders.
We've had political leaders from seated governors, former governors, senators. It's always good. Mayors. Rotary's always had a very apolitical position, but they've always wanted to get people in there to know what's going on in their city and their community and their state. It was quite usual for the Charleston Gazette and the Charleston Daily Mail, and quite often a radio or TV, to cover our Friday meeting. We would often have a newsmaker, and it was not unusual, like I said, to look at the Saturday newspapers and see an article on our speaker.
From its founding, the club sought to expand, progress, and flourish. On May 4, 1987, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that all Rotary clubs in the U.S. had to open their membership to women. 5 months later, on October 30th, Mary Lou McJunkin became the first female member introduced to the Rotary Club of Charleston, opening the door for many more to follow. Charlotte Lane was among the first 5 women admitted into membership.
Shortly after the club started admitting women to Rotary, women became very active, and right away, several women through the years early on were elected president of Rotary. So even though there might have been an initial resistance by some members to women in Rotary, that quickly evaporated, and women were treated the same as anybody else. I think it was 1988, 1989 when I first became a member of Rotary, and it's been a very enjoyable experience. I love the speakers that we get and the camaraderie among people that are movers and shakers in Charleston and in West Virginia. And overall, it's been a very positive experience for me.
The Charleston Rotary Club's spirit of public service has not only endured, but also thrived throughout the years. The club donates annually to selected nonprofits. It has been a generous supporter of clean water projects in Ghana, Africa, and much more. As it celebrates its centennial, the club has 212 members, and many of those are 3rd, 4th, and even 5th generation Rotarians. The Capito family has been a part of Rotary for decades. Beginning with Henry C. Capito, who served as president in 1943, to Charles Capito, who served as president in 1994. Charles's 2 sons and a daughter-in-law are current active members as well.
It was a great thrill a couple of years ago to introduce my son and his wife at the same meeting, sort of as a new generation of Capitos. But more important, a new generation of folks coming back to the Valley to work and raise a family, which I think is great. So as we're bringing in these younger people, that's exciting, whether it's my children or somebody else's children. I think that's exciting to see. And his wife is already engaged in a leadership role in the club. I think it's like a lot of the things that we are given opportunities to do in our service life, and Rotary's one of them. I suspect I've gotten a lot more out of it than I've given it.
The Rotary Club of Charleston, proudly celebrating its first centennial.